Hey, what is going on, guys? This is Jake at That Fit Friend, and today I'm going to be doing an unboxing, first workout, first impressions, and first workout breakdown in the new Under Armour SlipSpeed training shoes. So this model has been really interesting to kind of see evolve because they are very different than most training shoes on the market. And honestly, this is the first time I'm actually pulling them out of the box, so I have not seen them yet. So cool, we have a little card there explaining more. Oh, nice, these come with a little bag. That's pretty neat. So you do get a bag with this in case you've been in dire need of an Under Armour bag. And then also, let's take out the shoes. So these are interesting because like their whole spiel is like this drop-in heel construction. And when I first saw it, it's really unique, but also not necessarily new in the training shoe game. The Alakai Mio Lee model actually has a drop-in heel similar to this, but with a shoe dedicated to agility, strength, and more like power focused training. I thought that was really interesting with the Under Armour model because they also have a BOA system. So with the Alakai Mio Lee, one of my issues is that the heel often feels insecure. So I was super stoked that Under Armour is playing with this, and they're also implementing the BOA system, which you can see is up here. So essentially, to elaborate, this model has a drop-in heel. So you can slip these on and just wear them out and about casually after your training session. But then when you need to actually get down to training, you'll pop your heel into this, and then you'll adjust this BOA system accordingly to give you the tightness you need. Now, going over some first thoughts in this model is, number one, it is very different than any Under Armour training shoe I have ever seen. So it looks like we have a slightly thicker midsole, which I think will be good for plyos and some shorter runs and whatnot. What I'm most curious about is how secure this heel will actually be. And so in my workout today, I actually have some deceleration and acceleration exercises programmed in some plyometrics. So we will get a little bit of a test with that in this context. And we also have a BOA lacing system. So thicker midsole, this drop-in heel feels pretty maneuverable. You do have a little bit of a padding back here on the boot and the counter, but overall, like feels like a neoprene or like a thinner, like more stretchy material with a little bit of structure to it. I'm curious if this is gonna vibe with everybody's foot anatomy, but it does seem like it's decently secure for what it's worth, even though it is a little bit lighter in material than necessarily this upper construction here. The upper in this model feels like a leather-esque material, feels a little bit more rigid in nature. This model does feel like it has a decent like width and volume to it through the forefoot and midfoot, much more than other Under Armour training shoes. Now, we'll know soon enough when I actually put this on and get a good fit and read in this model when it comes to sizing, but that's really interesting. And what I'm also interested in is with this midfoot construction here, it's a little bit more stiff with this BOA system. And so I'm curious how long this is gonna take to break in, but I'm also curious if this is gonna work for everybody's foot anatomy, because I feel like this is gonna be a little bit polarizing with its overall construction, fit, and feel, because with BOA systems, they can be super hit or miss at times, and you see this with trail shoes that people love them, people hate them. You see this with like the Adidas Lusting 2 weightlifting shoes. Some folks love that model, some folks hate the BOA system. You also see it in the New Balance Minimus TR BOA. I personally like the BOA system, but others don't. So I feel like with this drop-in heel and the BOA, this shoe has like two pretty big features that could turn some folks off. But overall, it feels interesting. The upper feels a little bit more rigid. The heel has like a nice neoprene stretchy material to it, feels decently secure for what it's worth. And the midsole has a nice level of flexibility to it despite being thicker. But let's go train in this shoe because I'm actually dying to go lift and jump in this shoe and just see how they work for my training session. I'll see you at the gym, and then we will talk about the performance of this shoe after. All right, so you know we definitely had to test if this was easy to come off the foot when you just slid your foot in. Overall, not too bad, and I didn't have to adjust the BOA system too much. And then when it comes to the fit and ease of getting the shoe on, I thought it was pretty wicked easy. And then with the BOA system, it's super easy to adjust the tightness you want. This model is listed with a regular fit on Under Armour's site. I went true to size in this shoe, and I also thought they fit pretty true. I had a little bit of length at the end of the toe box, but not so much that it was a huge turnoff or that I would think warranting sizing down for most folks. Now, when it comes to the workout today, the big focus was on deceleration exercises and moving fast and doing acceleration exercises. So I started off my workout here with these box drops where I was focusing on really my landing mechanics and really absorbing my landing and letting that knee get over the toes. I then followed these with some box jumps with the box height just under my knee. Goal here is to get springy and get warmed up, but to also land with the almost straight leg. This ensures that I'm not pushing my box jump height too fast during my workout, so it helps prep my tissues accordingly. I then followed these with some rear foot elevated split squats paired with some single leg plyos. This is an absolutely brutal combo here, and so what I would suggest is that if you are going to add in anything like this to your workout, stay a little bit lighter with your loading. I was using 45s here for my rear foot elevated split squats, even though I can obviously go heavier, because when you pair those with the single leg box jump and do almost like this post activation potentiation style flow, it does add up pretty quickly when it comes to the intensity and the demands on your legs. I followed these with some dumbbell RDLs with the band around the waist. This is fantastic for building up your hamstrings and getting a little bit more glute work as you work through that extension. So this is a nice eccentric focus hinge patterning while getting a nice little bit of extra glute work. I love this accessory, and it is one of my go-tos, especially when I am trying to focus on more eccentric loading patterns with faster movements. I then followed these up with some power clean doubles. The goal here was to work up to about 80-ish% of my 1RM. Ended up finishing at 245 just because, number one, I honestly do not like going super heavy right away when I'm testing shoes. So for my next session, if I do add cleans, I'll feel a little bit more confident in this model. I then followed my cleans and the RDLs with some broad jumps paired with some kettlebell snatches. Broad jumps to focus on plyos and working through that sagittal plane. And then also for the kettlebell snatches, I use these as conditioning, but then to also focus on working through violent hip extension. So they're a nice, easy, and subtle way to really focus on violent hip extension without totally fatiguing myself. And honestly, I just really find kettlebell snatches fun, and I love programming them for that reason. The final 3 exercises I did in more of a circuit style. So I did these lateral hops here. So the goal was like to almost do like this double tap motion going from a kneeling position to like a skater stride. The goal here was to focus on what the shoe could actually do when you are getting more lateral. And I followed these with Copenhagen planks and hollow holds. All right, y'all, welcome to the post-workout breakdown with the Under Armour SlipSpeed training shoes. So out of all of the training shoes I reviewed in 2022, this is probably going to be the most polarizing model to date. I think you're either going to love this shoe or you are going to hate it. And that's for a couple of different reasons. So 2 features where I think this model is going to be a huge hit or miss for some folks is, number one, obviously the boot and heel construction. So this boot is very different than every other Under Armour training shoe. You don't get a ton of structured material here. So if you do like having a bit more ankle support and a structured boot, this is not going to be the shoe for you. And something that I noticed with this model is I had good security in this shoe. But with this boot construction, you have a padded heel counter, and then below it, there's no additional padding. So it's supposed to lock the heel down. However, it almost had like this sensation of almost slipping out at times. It's really hard to explain, but I wasn't a huge fan at first. It took me a while to adjust to it. Once I realized like, okay, the shoe is on, it's not gonna slide off. It kind of like subsided, but upon first putting these on, it almost felt like my heel was gonna pop off, and I think that could be an issue for some folks, especially if you don't get your sizing right or if you just don't align with the shoe's last construction. The second reason why I think this model might be a miss is with its midsole construction. It's a little bit platformy. I like the flow midsole, however, it's a little bit chunky at times, and I worry without this additional support here, and if your foot doesn't align with the shoe's last construction, you're not gonna like how kind of platformy this feels, especially for multi-directional work. And honestly, it kind of makes me question, like for speed focused shoes and shoes for like agility training, I like a leaner shoe. So if you're similar, I'm not sure you're gonna like this model. Now, if you do like having a little bit of a thicker midsole material or at least more of a platform to train on, you'll probably like this feature. So it is gonna be very hit or miss, I think, in that context. And when it comes to the BOA lacing system, I didn't have any issues with this whatsoever. I honestly kind of like BOA lacing systems because it's super easy to micro adjust your tightness, and this made it super easy to slip this shoe on and off. So I was a big fan of that as well. So with this BOA system, I was interested to see how the security was. Overall, it was pretty dang good, and I think it should work for most foot anatomies. Now, will some folks have heel slip? TBD, because we need more data points, we need more foot anatomies trying the shoe, but the BOA system I thought did a pretty good job at really locking that foot down. When it comes to the upper construction, it did a pretty good job as well, especially for multi-directional work. My gripe with it wasn't actually the upper for multi-directional work, it's like the platformy midsole, which I've already discussed, but the upper I thought did a pretty good job when it comes to additional security with this model. Overall, I think the main question as I head into my full review with this model that I'm having is, who is this shoe actually best for? Because with this model's price point at $150 USD, I'm wondering like, okay, if you are somebody who's just going to the gym on a recreational manner, is this model worth it for you, especially when it comes to the price? Because What makes it really different than a normal training shoe, besides having some of these like more like niche features like the BOA system and the drop-in heel? Like, is that really going to be a make or break for most folks, having a shoe that you kind of just pop on and off? So that being said, like I think general lifters and recreational lifters probably won't resonate a ton with this model, but if you are somebody who does have a very heavy athletic style training bias to your training program and you want a shoe that you can slip on and off, then I guess this model makes sense. Again though, like if you don't like the heel construction or if you like a leaner shoe, I'm just not sold that like the features in this model are gonna be worth it for most folks, but I'm gonna have a full review for this model in the near future. I wanna put some more training sessions in. I also wanna lift in them and do some running and do some sprint work in them, because with the whole speed focus, I really wanna push the envelope in that context of training. So definitely stay tuned for that review. If you have any additional questions in the meantime, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally. On Under Armour's site, I believe these are on pre-order until 12/19, I wanna say. I bought these on Dick's Sporting Goods and they came pretty quickly. So if you do wanna try these shoes out sooner than later, definitely look through other retailers if Under Armour is not shipping them out to you where you're located. But overall, guys, if you have additional questions on this shoe, once again, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally. This model is seriously interesting, so I'm excited to hear your all thoughts too. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Drop a like on the video, drop subscribe to the channel. Peace.